Okay, we're going to disassemble the carburetor, but first I noticed the gasket. I think the previous installer damaged the gasket, so that's a portion of the problem. To disassemble the carburetor, the first thing you do is you remove this main jet. As you can easily see, it has a bunch of varnish all over it. I can scrape it off there with my fingernail, so I can almost bet that everything inside the carburetor is all gummed up, just needs to be cleaned up really well. And the next thing you do is take the screws, the 4 screws out of it. Now the two halves should separate. Looks like it's been a while since that one's been apart. See the varnish all over the floats. Varnish all down inside. It's going to have to be disassembled completely and cleaned thoroughly. Remove the hinge pin from the float. Float comes off. Now the needle valve. Now the seat.
So we're disassembling the carburetor, and there's a plug in the bottom of the carburetor. It had a straight head. Somebody else had messed with it and had it all messed up, so we had to use a pair of vice grips to remove it. You can see all the debris down inside of the carburetor. Okay.
Next we'll remove the nozzle, which is right here. Takes a 3/8 inch socket. There's the nozzle. This completes the disassembly of the bowl part, because we just got a basic kit for it. We're not going to change the choke shaft or any of that, so all that stuff just will be fine once it's cleaned up. Okay, now in the upper part of the carburetor, I've already got the float removed, the needle valve seat removed, and the gasket, and there's a small jet in here that needs to be removed also. And next, the butterfly needs to come off the shaft, so the shaft can be removed through the side. The kit will have new screws in it for the butterfly shaft. There's the butterfly. Now there's the shaft. One more thing, I will remove this inlet, this brass 90-degree elbow, to make sure everything is clean there. Completes the disassembly. All we have to do now is clean everything and blow all the passages out and reassemble it. Okay, we've got everything cleaned up on the carburetor, and I always like to after I got everything cleaned up, I always like to run a file over the two flats of the carburetor, because when you take it apart, you'll see most of the time there's some nicks and little dings. I just like to kind of flatten everything down. Everything's been blown out, all the passages are clean in this carburetor, and first thing we'll do is go ahead and put the jet in the top part of the carburetor. This goes right there. Okay, next thing we'll do, we'll put our needle valve seat in, put a new gasket over the new seat. Okay, that's in and tight. Okay, next thing we'll do, we'll put our new seal where the shaft goes through the body of the carburetor. Like so. Okay, we have the seal in. Now it's time to put in the felt washer. Now it's time to put in the throttle shaft. Goes a little tight because it's going through that felt. Now we'll put the butterfly on the throttle shaft. Have new screws. I already started one on the screw starter. Tighten the screws securely. I used the old throttle stop screw from the original shaft because this is a basic kit. It did not have this in the kit, so I therefore had to reuse the old one. And now it's time to put in our venturi. Now we'll put on the gasket. Then the needle valve. And a new hinge pin for the float. Now we're ready for the float. I've checked the float level, and from the closest place on the float to the gasket, it needs to be approximately 1/4 of an inch, and it looks like we're really close there, so I'm just going to let it go as it is. Now we'll put in our nozzle into the bowl part of the carburetor with the new gasket on the nozzle. To complete the assembly, we'll bolt the two halves together. Now we'll put our needle back in the carburetor. We had to reuse this needle because, like I say, this was a basic kit. Got the new gasket already on there. Screws all the way in until it's lightly seated. There's lightly seated. Now we need to back it off one turn. That'll be counterclockwise. Now it'll have to have the final adjustment once it's put on the tractor. Now we'll put our air fuel mixture screw in. Again, we're reusing the old one because there wasn't a new one in the kit. Same deal with it, put it in lightly seated position, back it off approximately a turn.